Hello, John Bloodworth Gentleman Crafter here with another card layout, this time number 27. Super simple this week, very little embellishment, all of the detail coming from the paper. And I'm going to show you the layout that I used for this one. As ever, if you would like this layout, please head over to my blog and I'll give details of that in a bit. And of course, leave a link on the video on YouTube. Also going to be using this stamp set from Visible Image, some random scraps of paper, some parchment paper, and also some Stamperia papers. So basically, lots of papers. This is the sheet that I've chosen, and I'm also using a piece of hunky-dory adorable scoreable. Not easy to say. And I'm actually going to make the card from that, the card base from the adorable scoreable. Don't know whether you know it. It's been around for a long time, but basically it doesn't crack the surface print or surface when you crease or score it, which is great. Here's a quick tip when you're scoring cards. Make the score or the impression of your score line on the inside of your card. This clears the space for the card to fold and prevents that thing where you get it just rising up because there's too much stuff bunched up in the middle. Okay, just chopping down the papers. If you would like the exact measurements, please do head over to the blog, gentlemancrafter.com, where I've got the printable version of this layout which has measurements printed on it. I'm using the bookbinding glue here on this thin parchment paper, and I'm actually using a little spatula to spread it out as well so that it gives a good all-over adhesion, because I basically want to thicken it up by sticking it to some cream cardstock. It's a beautiful paper and I'm always looking for ways to use it, but it's just never quite right, it's never quite stiff enough, so I thought I'd basically give it some more structure by sticking it to some card. It's an easy way of using up bits and pieces and also using favourites that you can't find other ways to use. Anywho, that's all my layers cut. Did trim that a little bit too long, so I'll just snip that bit off. And I'm just using a pigment ink here to shade the edges of the papers. You could of course use your water-based inks, your dye-based inks, metallic inks, whatever you've got lying around really, just as long as it works with the paper. I chose the deep blue to go with the background card, the adorable scoreable. And what I'm doing is applying the pigment ink, but because it's often juicy and wet, I like to then just dab it down with a sponge blender rather than using the blender to apply the ink. What I can then do is use the ink blender to get any excess off onto bits of paper before I reload it. Okay, now this bow is actually one of a set of 6 SVG cutting files that I recently released on Creative Fabrica, and I've cut that from the parchment paper. And I'm just adding some colour to the edging with that blue ink, kind of tying it all together with the same colour of ink. You see what I'm doing, don't you? Okay, on with the stamp, using a stamp positioning tool. Use whatever you got, acrylic block, or one of those hinged things. There we go. Nice sentiment too, isn't it? Most of the Visible Image stamps have really good sentiments to use. They're not always your traditional saccharine, sweet phrases. There's often a lot more depth to their sentiments. Okay, so starting to put my layers on. First the big background montage paper. Then my little strip, and the little strip was just to add a little bit more interest on the edge. I could have just gone with the main paper, Sticky fixers, foam pads now to raise the sentiment off the card and make it the focal point. Using a gridded ruler to centre things up. Not always easy to draw a line on the adorable scoreable paper, so having that gridded ruler was a bit of a bonus. Now just putting the bottom or base of the bow and just trying to make sure that the sentiment has equal space either side to make it look framed. Doesn't really matter where the bow ends up, just as long as that sentiment looks right. Just shaping the bow loops now and gluing them in place, and then putting the bow wrap around. Of course, if you've got bow dies or bow templates or whatever, or even ready-made bows, use those instead. Entirely up to you. If you do have a cutting machine though, I'll leave a link to the bow cutting files in the description of the video, and probably on the blog too if I remember. Right, sticking that in place. Now, unlike many other cards, I am literally just going to use one gem. Just one, no more. I'm also going to try and get it in the middle. And that, my friends, is card number 27 done. You can see how quick and simple that one was. Why not give it a try for yourselves? Thanks for watching. See you next time. That's it for this time. If you've enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below. And for more from me in the future, please remember to subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.